So welcome everybody to our final night of our Cook Inlet Belugapalooza. My name is Jen Christopherson and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for Defenders of Wildlife here in Alaska. If you've been with us all 3 nights, we really appreciate your support and participation. If not, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Defenders has been very excited that we've been able to host and co-host these nights via our Zoom platform. And real quick, let's see where everybody is from. So if you want to drop in the chat, so there's a little bar down at the bottom of your screen and you click on the chat and you can just type where you are zooming in from. Juneau, okay, awesome. Palmer, perfect. Anchorage, Eagle River, Seward. Ooh, Mesa, Arizona. It's probably like way hotter there. Oh, Ohio, okay. DC. Wow, it's late in DC. Girdwood, okay. Oregon, Anchorage, Texas, Seattle. All right, we have quite a variety tonight. LA, okay. All right, so just as a reminder, I kind of said this before, but anybody who kind of came in right at 7 may have missed it. This event will be recorded, and during the event, participants will be on mute. If you need to make a comment, you can use the raise your hand function or put a note in the chat box. We will be monitoring for questions and comments during the event. And like I said, we will be recording these and we will send out like little YouTube videos probably on our Facebook page. So you can rewatch all 3 sessions of Belugapalooza. We've got some exciting updates on our beluga monitoring activity and a special guest appearance from Tyonek, our beluga in SeaWorld. And now I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne from Beluga Whale Alliance.
Thanks so much, Jen. Hi, everybody from Girdwood, Alaska here. I'm Suzanne, the founder and president of Beluga Whale Alliance, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit based here along the shores of the Turnagain Arm in Cook Inlet, Alaska, devoted to inspiring and supporting the local and global conservation of beluga whales. And I'm super excited to be here tonight, helping to highlight the work that a variety of organizations are doing, both here locally in this region and on a more national and global scale to support the conservation of our critically endangered Cook Inlet belugas. We've got some of our team members that are joining us today that we'll be hearing from, some collaborators at the Alaska Beluga Monitoring Partnership, the Cook Inlet Beluga Whale Photo ID Project. Thank you all so much for attending. And we are going to kick things off now with Katie Kolodziej at SeaWorld San Antonio. She is Tyonek the Rescue Cook Inlet Beluga Calf caregiver, daily caregiver. She knows Tyonek better than anybody does. Is super lucky. She gets to spend every day with Ty, and she's going to be talking a little bit about his story, his background, and what his days are like now in Texas, what his new life is like. So I'm sure everybody who is familiar with his story, he was rescued. If you're not, he was rescued in 2017 at the end of September here on the western shores of Cook Inlet, and is the first successfully rescued and rehabilitated Cook Inlet beluga calf. So I'm gonna let Katie take it away, and I think she's gonna do her best to not cry during this presentation. We'll see how that goes.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for having us. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about my absolute favorite subject. We do have a quick little video update to share with everyone. So I'm going to start with that and then I'll talk. So bear with me while I do this sharing my screen, which I've practiced. Wait, start that at the beginning. Many of you may know that a beluga calf was found stranded off the coast of Alaska in September of 2017. He's a Cook Inlet beluga calf. His name is Tyonek. And through the collaboration between SeaWorld experts and our industry partners, he was rehabilitated at the Alaska Sea Life Center. In 2018, the U.S. government deemed him non-releasable. Then they selected SeaWorld San Antonio as his home, and the team here is very honored to include Tyonek as a part of our family. He has been introduced to 12 other beluga whales, including 2 beluga calves that are very close in age to him. And there's one toy in particular that the 3 of them will get together and push around, the maneuver around the pool. It's so fun to watch. It's my absolute favorite thing to watch. And I cannot accurately tell Tyonek's story without talking about one very special dolphin that we have here, and her name is Betty. And she and Tyonek have forged an undescribable and unbelievable bond. Time and time again, we see Tyonek and Betty choosing to be together, and she has played an integral role in his integration into the pod. It was very clear early on when Tyonek came that he sought comfort from humans, and I can say without a doubt it is because of our animal family that Tyonek has learned how to be and behave like a beluga whale. Tyonek means so many things to so many people. For the trainers interacting with him daily, we take very seriously the responsibility of caring for an individual from this critically endangered population of beluga whales, and for sharing his story and the plight of the Cook Inlet beluga with our guests. We have had over a dozen people from Alaska come to visit Tyonek, and I myself have shared his story with people from around the world through presentations at our IMATA conference and the International Beluga Conference. The behaviors we are most proud of that he's learned are his husbandry behaviors, which are behaviors he learns to be involved in his own care. So for instance, he has learned how to slide out of the water onto a scale so that we may weigh him once a week. He's also learned how to position himself at the side of the pool so our veterinary staff can administer sonograms or ultrasounds on him. And he has even learned to offer a conditioned blood draw for our monthly physicals. One of the greatest compliments that we've gotten is from people that come to visit our park and see him, those people that were a part of his rescue and rehabilitation. They walk up to the pool and their question is, which one is he? And that lets us know he's in the group. He's hard to tell from our other animals in the pod, and that just lets people know that what we did here, it worked. It was the right thing. By far, Tyonek and being a part of his life is a defining moment in my career. Tyonek is a true ambassador for his ocean counterparts. I believe his legacy has been to make the world a smaller place.
Lisa Hartman, you better be crying, because I know I almost am. Are you chiming in?
I will never tell. I will never tell.
So let me just recap really, really quick. Suzanne, did you want to say something?
I was just going to introduce Lisa to everybody and make sure everyone knows Lisa Hartman, the husbandry director at the Alaska Sea Life Center, is also on the meeting tonight. And she's joining us here for a little bit of Q&A. So feel free to ask her and Katie questions. And hopefully she'll introduce herself a little bit too, and what she's done and the role she played in Tyonek's rescue. But I think she's excited to be on the meeting today and hear this Tyonek update from you, Katie. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So just a quick recap on his story before he came to Texas. We all know he stranded off the coast of Alaska near Tyonek. They tried to encourage him to go back out into the water, and he kept turning around and coming back on the beach. And with no other whales in the surrounding area, the choice was made to move him to Alaska Sea Life Center. And then initially upon rescue, he suffered from pneumonia and hydrocephalus, or fluid on his brain. About a month after his rescue, he suffered a pneumothorax, spontaneous pneumothorax. So for no reason, his lung collapsed, creating an air pocket in his lung channel, which made him very buoyant in the water column and unable to dive for food. So that reason alone, the fact that really there was no reason for that to occur and that it could occur again, is one of the reasons he was deemed non-releasable, along with his very young age at stranding, and then his dependency on people for nutrition and companionship. our experience is that these babies, these calves, they will rely on their moms for nutritional needs up to 2 years old. So him being rescued at just a month old, and then for the next 5 months being around people solely, it really just wasn't the best situation for him to return to the ocean. And ultimately, you know, our US government decided that wasn't what they thought was right for him, and then they chose SeaWorld as his home. And our park in particular was chosen because of our robust collection of beluga whales that we have. Since to date, Tyonek has met 12 other beluga whales and then our 5 Pacific white-sided dolphins. And his introductions early on were okay. We introduced him to all of our belugas first, obviously. And you know, it was, we didn't know what to expect. And they would come in his pool and he would kind of look at them and they would kind of look at him. And you know, he ended up just swimming off and doing his own thing. And he kept coming to people, coming to us. And so here we are, we're trying to figure out a way to get him to want to interact with those other belugas. And we would normally reinforce that or encourage that with our training techniques, but then that's kind of counterintuitive to our whole goal, which was, well, stop thinking we're so much fun, go play with your friends. And so it was you know, it was a challenge for our team, and actually a very exciting challenge for our team. There was a lot of time spent poolside just watching him, looking at when he was wanting to interact with the other whales, who he was interacting with. And you know, we came up with different techniques and plans, but ultimately what I kept noticing was in his free time, he would go over to one of our you know, gates in between 2 of our pools, and he would be hanging out with Betty on the other side of the gate. And Betty is a Pacific white-sided dolphin. She is 43-ish years old right now. She's a mother of 3 calves, and she's trained a lot of trainers. She's like the best dolphin on the planet. So we thought, let's see if Betty wants to come hang out with Ty. And so we did, and that is the first animal that he chose to touch on his own. We just kind of let it be, and he came over and just bumped right up against her side. And Betty, being the amazing animal that she is, she let him, and she kind of gave him this look, you know, like, hey, what are you doing over here? And since then, they are 2 peas in a pod. I mean, the 2, I can't even begin to tell you the things that I've seen those 2 do together, and how they just show their relationship and their bond. And it's actually funny, we reorganized some of our animals, and we had some new animals come in, and one of the new whales that we got, his name is Naluark, and he's this big giant male. He's about 2,000 pounds. And the first time we introduced Naluark to Tyonek, of course, we had Betty with him because we wanted her to kind of, you know, play buffer, play mom. And boy, she put Naluark in his place. She was like, no, sir, this is my baby. Like, you stay over there. And now everybody gets along. I actually have a really good picture here. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you guys a really cute picture of Naluark with Tyonek. Let's see if I go here. Share that, and then let me pull this over so I can see it. So Ty and Lou, where are you guys? Oh, here we go. So there's Ty and the Naluark, so you can see the difference here in size. Ty is when he was stranded, he weighed about 140 pounds. When he came to San Antonio, he was right at 260. He's weighing in, you guys saw in the video, he's weighing in at 605, 610 pounds right now. His buddy Naluark is 2,000 pounds. But Tyonek is not intimidated by him at all. Let me show you this next picture. He's like, I'm just gonna eat your flipper. So he's integrated.
We're not seeing your pictures.
You're not seeing it? Oh no. I don't know what I'm doing. Let me get out and let me try it again. Sorry. Screen share. I wonder if I
Oh yeah, we were just seeing, just the files.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm there. What about that?
Nope, still just the files, Katie.
Not yet.
Are you sharing your desktop versus there might be another
I'm
option.
just sharing what's on my screen. I guess I can hide that. Well, now it stopped sharing it. Huh. Anybody have any suggestions? I don't know what to do. Because we did this.
Do you have your photos on your screen right now?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Do you have your photos on your screen right now?
No, I need to bring them up. So let's see.
Yeah, I'd bring them up on your screen first and then click share.
Okay, gotcha. All right, hold on. Okay, so let me get, so y'all didn't, obviously you didn't see the first one. So let me do that. Bring it up on the screen and then I'll share. Y'all, this is way harder than it should be. Sorry. There we go. How about that? Now you can see it, right?
Yes, thank you.
Hey! So there he is with Naluark, our big boy. And then I'll show you guys the next picture, see if I can figure this out. And then I'll do that. And then I'll do this. And I'll share that one. Okay, how about that? Can you see that one?
Yes, and Katie, this was great because we had a question in the chat. How does Kai interact with the other belugas at SeaWorld San Antonio? And you just rolled right into that answer.
He's in the fold. He's in the mix. He is not intimidated by them at all. And some of that has to do with his own personality for sure. Like he doesn't let anybody boss him around. But also Betty, she plays a pretty big role in that as well. You know, she'll come in and put those guys in their place. So let's see. I'll give you guys some cute pictures of Betty here. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And then Katie, if you don't mind, after that too, just elaborating a little more on how Tyonek really is an ambassador for our Cook Inlet beluga whales here, and
Absolutely.
how he is contributing to their conservation of the conservation of his family members up here in Cook Inlet.
Yes, I absolutely will do that. So here's those two hanging out together. I'll just let that play. So we have roughly 2 million guests a year, typically when we are not dealing with a pandemic, come through our park. And we actually will have Tyonek come out either before our presentation, or we'll integrate his coming out into our presentation. And so basically everything comes to a halt. Ty comes out, he's usually out there with Betty or his other buddies, Kenai or Innick, and we talk about his stranding. We talk about the Cook Inlet beluga and the plight of the Cook Inlet beluga, what's going on with that population of animals. And then obviously we let people Google at how absolutely adorable he is, and just talk about how the conservation of this critically endangered population of animals is, you know, something that we all need to be really paying attention to. Even on our non-operating days, we will have programs that we'll participate in. Guests come into the park to see the animals, and when they come in our area, it is in our protocol to have them go over and talk about Tyonek and tell his story. I'll share, we actually got an adorable letter from a child in Illinois, actually, that wrote Ty a letter saying, I fell in love with this baby beluga. and please give him kisses for me, and here's some toys for him. And he sent him a Frisbee and a little foam football. And so, you know, here we are. Like, I said it in the video that I believe Tyonek's legacy is to make the world a smaller place. The thousands and thousands of people that are now in Texas from, you know, from wherever they've come from, but particularly the Texans that are learning about the Cook Inlet Beluga up in Alaska that probably a lot of us never knew even existed, but they're hearing about him every day from us. And then, as I also said, we've had a dozen or more folks from Alaska come to see him. And actually, one particular guest, she has family here in Dallas, and she's come several times. And we're good friends now. We just chatted up and share stories about Tyonek, and she'll come and see him and check in on him. The helicopter pilot that actually was part of his rescue that flew him from the shore to the center, he came and visited him as well. So it's pretty special. We take very seriously, you know, having him present in our park and getting to play with him. It's an honor. So what else do you have?
That's amazing. Yeah, let's maybe do one more question here, and then I think I see a question in the chat that might be good for Lisa to pop in for, and segue over to her. But how is Tyonek, being from Cook Inlet, similar and different than your other belugas?
Well, at first, the first thing that I feel like we notice is his head is shaped a little differently, and it could just be him. It could be that he's a Cook Inlet beluga and their heads are shaped differently, but it's like it's like he's got more of a bubble round head than some of our other belugas that have more of just, they kind of almost come out, like their rostrum is more pronounced, I would say. So that's definitely a difference. But, you know, when he first came, he used his flippers a lot more than our belugas would use their flippers. And I'm wondering, I mean, who knows, but a lot of times these little guys, they tuck up under their mom and they swim in their slipstream. And so they're just kind of coasting with their mom quite often. And he obviously, you know, having to kind of manage himself for quite some time on his own, I'm wondering if that's how he learned how to turn and use the slippers a lot. That has definitely changed. He doesn't do that as much now. He's gotten much better at using his body and his tail and things like that to get himself around the pool, but that was something that I noticed initially. Other than that, like I said, you walk up to the pool and we've got Ty, who we're estimating his birthday was around September 1st. We have Enik, who was born in our park on September 17th, so they're roughly 2 week-ish apart. And then Kenai, who is 3, or was 2 whenever Tyonek came to the park. So they're all within this real close age range with each other. And the 3 of them just get together and you walk out there and sometimes you're like, what, who's who? You know, because they're bouncing around on top of each other and pushing on toys and banging into each other. So it's really fun. You wouldn't know, you would not know that he's a different whale if you just came and saw him and you didn't know who he was.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Katie, for sharing all of that, sharing that awesome update. It's so great. I think I can speak hopefully for everybody and say it's just so great for all of us to see Tyonek, our little guy, thriving, and to know he's in such good hands with you guys at SeaWorld in Texas. Lisa, would you like to pop on? Lisa Hartman here and say hello, and maybe for the folks who are tuning in from outside of Alaska as well, just briefly introduce the Alaska Sea Life Center and what it was like participating for you in Tyonek's recovery.
Sure. So hi, everybody. My name's Lisa Hartman, and I'm the husbandry director down here at the Alaska Sea Life Center. And I was definitely very involved in the rehab of Tyonek, all the way from his his arrival, and then you know, listening to the federal process of where where he would be placed, and then the efforts to get him moved down to San Antonio. So it was I mean, I can echo what Katie said, and that it was like a really monumental part of my career as well, and just kind of a really amazing story to be a part of. You know, it was definitely really unsure there for the first month or so. We were very grateful that we had a pretty good idea that he had at least had a month or so with mom, if not longer, because we could definitely tell that he had nursed, and he was in fairly good body condition when he came in, but he definitely had all those other hurdles to overcome. And certainly when we diagnosed him with a collapsed lung, you know, that was just another, you know, scary event. And cetaceans are just so critical and difficult to rehab anyway. And so just that we got through all of those, you know, with all of the support from everybody in the industry and the experts that came in, was just really rewarding, and a real career defining opportunity. And so it's hard to believe it's, you know, we're approaching 3 years. It's like, whoa, where did that time go? I did see in the chat that somebody asked about, is it common for belugas to have a collapsed lung or to experience a collapsed lung? There's really not a lot of data to pull from that. I mean, there's a little bit more data out of, you know, maybe bottlenose dolphins that strand and experience a collapsed lung, but there's really no data on beluga whale rehabilitation. There's just not been very many opportunities. And I think the few documented cases have been in the St. Lawrence River over in Canada, and they've tried to reunite them if they've seen one with a mom out, you know, in the river. I don't think they've even brought one in. So there's just not a lot of data, but from the best we could tell is this was just really a spontaneous case. We couldn't find in the MRIs, we didn't see anything that really indicated any kind of a acute injury or assault on the lung that would have caused it. The only thing we can think of is that there may have been some trauma from stranding, you know, from being on the beach, but you know, it was well after a month that that we diagnosed that and that it happened. I mean, we have a pretty good idea of the exact moment it happened, and when then after getting him in for the CT scan to see, so we didn't think it was anything to do with his actual stranding event. So
yeah, that's interesting. Thanks so much for touching on that. We do have another question. Any idea what happened to his mom? I mean, I would say she very well might still be just swimming around in the waters of Cook Inlet.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. I do know that, you know, when he was discovered, there was a crew out doing a necropsy on another beluga that had been, you know, found deceased out on the arm. And I don't think I think that at one point there was talk about trying to pull genetic samples to see if they could see, you know, from Tyonek and that particular stranding, to see if they could ever make a connection, or if there would have been a genetic match there. But I don't know. I don't believe that ever. I actually don't know if that ever happened. I know it was talked about, but I don't know if they ever did it. And so no, we don't really know. I mean, you know, they said they looked and saw no other belugas in the area, and so yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if anybody else on this call has more information about that, but we don't really know what happened.
Yeah, thank you. And before we let you go, do you mind touching a little bit on just the research you guys were able to do with Ty while he was in your care? Some of the hearing, testing, and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, I can touch a little bit on it. I certainly am not going to be the best person to speak on that, but we did do some baseline hearing studies on him, and just to try to, because that's one of the biggest things that NOAA was asking us to do as well, because it's really critical to understand if they're suffering from any hearing impairments. So they definitely wanted those baseline hearing studies done, and then they continued you know, through through his duration. We did one on initial admit, and then we did another one about a month later. And then we recorded a lot of his, his sounds, and we put in a lot of recording devices to just monitor that. And then we also did some photos, some photogrammetry stuff to just get length, and that we were providing to Amber. I don't know if that was for you guys or who we were providing that data for, but the main one we were looking at was just was the hearing stuff, and then following, just following a lot of his physiology, and blood parameters and things like that were shared with multiple people.
And I'll chime in on that. It's in our park, we're still doing the vocal development study. So putting the hydrophone in the water, it's shifted a little to where it's less about what he hears and more about how his ability to make vocals is coming along. And then also comparing that to our other calves that we have in the pool. So we're still working with Dr. Manolo about that, with that project. We also have researchers from St. Mary's University come out, and they've been doing this research for over a decade. They're continuing their sociosexual behavioral development of beluga whales, and there's been some really interesting findings that actually really helped us in developing a plan for Tyonek socially that was successful for him, that research. And then we also have been doing some photogrammetry research as well, or data collection as well, to continue to carry on with that, which is directly linked to the stuff they're doing out in the Cook Inlet with those guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much to both of you ladies, Katie and Lisa, and to your organizations for joining us here tonight, and for everything you have done and continue to do to support the survival and well-being of this very special little Cook Inlet beluga, whose story hopefully we can continue to follow for years to come. We are going to switch gears, and if anybody continues to have questions in the chat, hopefully Lisa and Katie feel free to pop into the chat and try to answer some questions as we go on here. But we're going to switch gears now and shift over to some field updates for what to see and learn what Tyonek's family members have been up to here this field season in Cook Inlet. And to kick that off, I'm going to turn it over to Amber Stevens, who is a biologist with the Cook Inlet Beluga Whale Photo Identification Project. And this is a really exciting collaborator of ours, and with the Alaska Beluga Monitoring Partnership. And I'll let Amber explain a little bit about the project and some of the belugas that she's been seeing this year.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Amber. I don't know if you can see me. I can't see my screen, so hopefully you can see me. That was a great update about Tyonek. That's super great. And to touch, Lisa, what you were talking about with some of the work we've done with Photo ID, something that some people maybe don't realize is that Tyonek has actually helped with some of our research with Photo ID. The Sea Life Center shared all of his photos and lengths and weights from when he was at the center, and we were actually able to use that information to basically kind of collaborate, or basically calibrate is the word I was looking for, not collaborate. Calibrate the images that we get of neonates out in Cook Inlet. So he's been very helpful with us trying to basically hone in on the ages of the whales that we see. Okay, so quite a few of you might be wondering what the Photo ID project is all about. Well, we have been around since 2005, which is super exciting. Basically what we do is we track individual Cook Inlet beluga whales throughout their history. And so some of you, if you're out on the highway, if you are really lucky, you get really good views of them in close. Sometimes there's these little white dots out in the distance. But we can actually zoom in on some of these photos. And this whale here is one that we kind of, she's one of our special whales just because she's so easily viewable even from the highway. Her name is Treasure. And she has really unique marks. If you look, she kind of looks like she has a treasure map drawn on her. That's how she got her name. And so this is a picture. This top picture is a photo of Treasure in 2005. And then so basically we've just taken kind of some photos 2006, 2007, 2008. And you can see that these marks actually persist throughout the years. And so these are the marks. They get these through various ways, sometimes just interacting with each other, you know, rubbing up against something on the shore. They get marks from, you know, entanglements, trauma. I'll go over all that in a little bit. But these marks, as they heal, kind of turn into these white marks. Sometimes they're a darker color, but they do persist throughout the years, and that's how we're able to follow individual whales. And why photo ID is great. It's something that we can do. It's pretty, you know, non-invasive work. We can do it from highway, we can do it from the boats. We just have to get semi-close to the whales, take photographs, and then we can track them throughout their lives. These are long living whales. And so, yeah, by taking photos of them every year, we can keep track of what they're up to. And so some of the information we can get from photo ID is on an individual level. You know, you can get age, sex, reproductive history, and even mortality. We can track their movements day to day throughout the seasons, even time of reproduction. We can figure out which habitat they're using to move through, what they're using to feed in and rear their calves. And then we can also get daily and seasonal movements. A photo can also tell us a lot about the condition of a whale. We can see signs of stress, trauma, disease. And then we can even, throughout tracking them photographically, calculate their exposure to threats and cumulative effects. So here is another popular whale of ours. This is Rivers. This whale has very distinct marks that we think maybe were possibly caused by an orca. We think this whale is also female. You can see a little calf down there. This is tail ring. If you're out there, this is a whale that is really easy to identify by the fact that it swims much more differently than the other belugas out there. There's this kind of mark that we don't know whether this was caused from entanglement or a ship strike, but something happened that kind of created a deformity, and this whale, every time it swims, lifts its whole tail stalk out of the water. And then Dimples, this is one, I was actually out there today. Dimples was out in Turnagain Arm at Bird Point. I know quite a few people have actually seen this female out there this year along Turnagain Arm. Also another one that's really easy to identify from these marks that could be from either a bullet holes potentially. So here are some things we can learn from photos of just what possible entanglement might look like. This also could be these two lower photos of ship strike. We have here possible signs of infection. So these are things looking at photos. We can basically look at how the body condition and if there's any infection or disease to be worried about. And then these are possible examples of trauma. The one on kind of the middle left here, this one here was, I think, it was a carcass that came in, and we think it was determined as a possible ship strike there. So those are some examples. And then these are examples of possible bullet wounds marks. And then these marks right here are most likely caused from a propeller strike. Okay, so that's a little bit about photo ID. Like I said, we've been around since 2005. This year is our 16th field season, so we're very excited. As everyone knows, it's been a kind of a strange year. So we've had a little bit of a modified season, but luckily we are local. Tamara McGuire is the PI on the project, myself, and then John McClung. And we basically, Tamara's been able to get out on the boat most of this summer. I started field operations along Turnagain Arm in April. This map here just kind of shows the red marks are our tracks for our boat. So we do both boat-based and shore-based photo ID studies. The purple line is kind of where we go right now, which is spring and fall along Turnagain Arm. Eagle Bay is also a location we go to all the way out the Susitna River Delta, Chickaloon Bay, and then down in Kenai as well. So some things of note. The first neonates that we observed, which basically means a newborn beluga, which could be minutes to days old, was first seen on July 23rd in the Susitna River Delta. They were also seen up in Kinnick Arm in August, and I have seen a couple of neonates in Turning an Arm this September. So they're still having babies out there, which is really exciting to see. We are super excited that this year, especially, and all of our co-authors have been working really, really hard on getting some publications out. So we have two. One was actually just released this morning, so we're very excited about that. If you're interested, you can contact us at cookinletbelugas.com. We can give you more information about this. But our two that we currently have out are information about distribution and habitat use. And then the one that just came out today is reproductive natural history. And those have been published in Polar Biology and Aquatic Conservation. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so we're very excited about that. So it's been a busy last year and a half for all of the colleagues and us. More recently, most of you probably heard that there was actually a live stranding out at Bird Point on September 11th. It was a mom-calf pair that stranded. Thank you for the team that got out there and responded, and those who were able to take photographs, especially the Nat Geo group. The photos they provided were taken under really hard conditions at nighttime, basically sunset, but they were able to get photos that we could match to our catalog, which is very, very exciting. This goes back to, you know, being able to track an individual. And so this individual was first photographed by the photo ID team in 2007. And based on the size and color of the whale, then we estimate the whale to be at least 5 years old. This whale was then photographed in 2017 with a calf that was at least 2 years old. And then 2019, we also had photographs of this whale with a calf that was looking to be about a year old. And so we think that the calf that stranded with this mom was probably the same one we photographed last year. So we're keeping our eyes out. This whale has very distinct dorsal ridge marks. So we're hoping we're gonna go through our photos and hopefully we'll capture this animal still alive. We know that they swam away. So fingers crossed that we can keep tracking this lady. All right, some updates. I definitely recognize quite a few names on the people that are here. So thank you for all of you that have contributed your photos and various videos. So we've had some people contribute to the names of some of our Cook Inlet beluga whales. This lovely, cute little photo off on the left was part of the contest that Sue at ADF&G put together for Name a Beluga contest. And the winner was Kaylee, and her name, Bailey, is going to be introduced into the catalog this year. I'm just starting some cataloging, so I will be rolling out that whale soon. Another new one to our catalog is Portugal, the whale. This was named for and by Portugal, the man, for his contributions to the kids in Palmer in Alaska for some books that he helped provide this year. And then Brian and Kyoko, I know you are on here. Your whale Casper was named last year, and hopefully, like I said, we're usually about a year behind with our photo ID cataloging, and so I'm working on the 2019. So we're going to be excited to hopefully see. I'm pretty sure we've seen Casper out there again, so I'll provide some updates on that whale later. And then our newest one is the notorious RBG. So all of you that do contribute to the photo ID program, we really appreciate it. And we do choose a winner, a random name selection at the end of every season for those who have contributed sightings to the Cook Inlet photo ID project. Okay, this last one, I know Brian wants to talk about saddles, so I'll try not to do too much, but this was a good example of the collaboration between all the different projects out there right now. Saddle is one of our long-term photo ID whales, first photographed in 2005, so that makes this whale at least 15 years old. We have never photographed this whale with a confirmed calf, so we do not believe it's a female, but it could just be potentially a non-reproductive female. Saddle has unique deformities, and I think Brian will share some photos, but this one on the lower left is actually from him, taken at Ship Creek not too long ago. I think it was on the 9th of September. I've shared this photo up top. It's hard to see Saddle from this particular photo, but it is Saddle. This was taken down at Kenai, and I just want to show it's actually a good photo that Tamara took with a plane going over. So this is the way when I was talking about, you know, anthropogenic effects or human cause effects, these are some of the things that all of these whales have to deal with. And so we can kind of look at all the different areas that the whales use and try to determine how many cumulative effects we're dealing with. So I just wanted to use this as a great example. So thank you. Chandera is on here, and Brian. You guys are wonderful contributors with wonderful photos. So thank you. Your photos really do help us. So for the rest of you, how can you contribute? If you go to www.cookinletbelugas.com, we have a sightings map with all the sightings from the various groups that report to us of what the whales are doing when they're being seen. So it's kind of a good way to see kind of where and when people are seeing them, so you can get out there and see them yourself. And then photographs. There's so many amazing photographers locally. We want your photographs. We can't be everywhere all at once, and the more photos we have of individuals in different areas, the better information we get. Also, when you give us your reports of where you're seeing whales, we kind of help design our surveys around that. So if there's new hotspots or places whales are being seen, we'll try to get out there and photograph them as well. So thank you for all your help, and keep up the good work. There's a long list of people that we work with and collaborate with, so thank you to everybody. And I don't know if we're gonna do questions an hour later, but that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amber, for all the work you and Tamara, your team does. You guys really accomplish so much and provide such vital information to the recovery of our Cook Inlet belugas. And we do have one question I think we can squeeze in right now, and then I might have you just dive into the chat box, but do Cook Inlet belugas use Knik arm in the same way that they use Turnagain arm?
Oh, excellent question. Yes, so one thing that from all the years of studying beluga whales is, you know, the day-to-day kind of changes, but they're pretty predictable with their seasons, and definitely in August, same time we start really seeing them pick up in Turnagain arm, they are using Knik arm as well. Both sides, in Eagle River side and then the Goose Bay side as well. And they definitely use Knik arm year round as well, but the hot time is usually August through, you know, October for sure. So excellent question. And you can check out our habitat paper for more information.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Amber. And I'm going to pass it over to Katie Baer-Nelvin at Defenders of Wildlife Now, who's going to introduce the Alaska Beluga Monitoring Partnership.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, and thanks Amber and Katie and everybody else who's talked before me tonight. I've learned so much already tonight from listening to all of you, so thank you. So the Alaska Beluga Monitoring Partnership, or what we commonly say AKBMP, I know several of us on the call tonight are all part of it, but it involves several different organizations, all with the common goal of monitoring belugas in Cook Inlet. The partnership relies heavily upon volunteers donating their time to look out for belugas. Several of these volunteers are on the call with us tonight, and they're here to share their beluga experiences, since they're really the ones putting in the hours and the work here. So we thank them very much for that. And all this data that we collect, it really helps us better understand how belugas are using Cook Inlet throughout the season. So we'll now go forward with some updates from each of our monitoring locations, and I'll start us off here with Ship Creek. So I'll share my screen and get that going. Ship Creek is a site that we monitor, or we co-host with Beluga Whale Alliance, and it's a really important site for us to learn more about how the belugas are using this area. We still have a lot of questions that AKBMP data helps us get at about how the belugas are using Cook Inlet. And Ship Creek, it's located right in the heart of downtown Anchorage. So one, it's a really amazing experience to get out and see belugas right in the heart of Alaska's largest city, but it also exposes them to a lot of human activity. So getting out there and monitoring and learning all that we can really helps us get at some of those questions, like how intense this human activity might be affecting belugas and their recovery. So with that, I'm just going to pass it on over to some of our wonderful volunteers that have been out there monitoring the belugas this season. So I'll pass this along to Chandra and then Brian and Kyoko to tell us a little bit more about what they've been seeing.
Thanks so much, Katie. My name's Chandra Tolley, and I'm a field volunteer with Beluga Whale Alliance and a citizen science volunteer with the AKBMP. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all here. I just have some photos from recently at the Ship Creek monitoring site in downtown Anchorage, and just give you all some updates about what we've been seeing in that area. So as you can see on the map here, this is just a satellite view that I pulled off of Google Maps of just to give you a visual of what the Ship Creek area looks like. So you can see here at the Ship Creek small boat launch, this is our AKBMP monitoring site. And then you can see that Ship Creek runs here up into downtown Anchorage. So it's a very unique place to view belugas. So just this past week, here are a few pictures of some belugas I was able to get. You can see how close they come to the boats. And this particular group of belugas that was coming through, there was about 10 of them, and they were super active. They were in a fluking frenzy. I was able to get some really great fluke shots of these belugas. And with the AKBMP, this is our second year monitoring at the Ship Creek site. So last year, we only monitored during the rising high tide. But this year, we are also monitoring during the peaking low tide. So it's been really interesting out there this season because it seems like there's more beluga activity in the area during the outgoing tide and peaking low tide. So you just saw this photo on Katie's slideshow, but this is an image of a Cook Inlet beluga cow and calf that was taken in 2017 by Alaskan Peter Scully. And again, you can see the map here. So this photo was actually taken right in downtown Anchorage. So it's just crazy that you can see these wild endangered beluga whales right in the middle of downtown Anchorage. So part of BWA's Beluga Whale Alliance's field work this season is to do some stakeouts down in the Ship Creek area. We are trying to get a better idea of how Cook Inlet belugas are using the Ship Creek area. So for example, when are they entering and exiting the creek? How long are they staying up there, and how far up the creek are they going? So stay tuned. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to get a better idea of that to share with you all, and hopefully get some more cool pictures of the belugas in the clear water up the creek. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Brian and Kyoko to talk more about the beluga activity that they've been seeing at Ship Creek.
Okay, thanks, Chandra. Hi, so I'm Brian, and this is my wife, Kyoko. We're a husband and wife monitoring team, and we spend a lot of time at Ship Creek. It's one of our favorite places to monitor, partly because it's only 10 minutes from home, so it's very easy. And it is such a critical site for the work that we're doing around monitoring, to understand, as others have said, how they're making use of the water around the port. It's kind of a unique place because we spend a lot of evenings there, or days whenever we're monitoring, where we might not see anything for a number of sessions in a row. And then all of a sudden we'll have a string of activity. We did earlier this month, where it seemed like every time we were out, we saw whales there. I think one evening we saw at least a couple dozen at a distance, so that was very exciting. They tend to kind of in Ship Creek, whereas in Turnagain Arm and in other locations, you see them kind of coming from a distance, surfacing and spraying, and you can kind of watch them approach. In Ship Creek, they kind of like to sneak up on us. I think it's in part probably because of the boat activity, the tugs and the ships and small boats there, that they will come in underwater, hold their breath and come in underwater, and then suddenly be kind of right there next to us by the pier or at the mouth of Ship Creek. So we were excited. Amber had mentioned and shown the picture earlier of Saddle, and we were excited. On the 9th of September, we were out and we had one of those kind of situations where all of a sudden we had whales just nearby. We had a quiet evening up until then, and saw a whale surface. And I noticed as when we see them, usually I'll start taking pictures. We'll try to be counting them. I'll start taking pictures, and Kyoko will be taking video. And I noticed that one of the whales had kind of an irregular sort of, shape to its back, had those kind of indents. And having spent a lot of time on the photo ID project website that Amber and Tamara maintain, I figured we could probably recognize the whale and took the photos home that evening and thought it was a good match for Saddle. And then we were excited five evenings later when we saw the whale again and recognized again the same contour to the back with the little indentations, and got some more photos of Saddle that evening as well. And it was also, it was exciting because it starts to take some of the monitoring and the watching that we do to a more individual whale level. Granted, it's a relatively easy to identify whale because of its unique shape, but it starts to bring some of what we do an individual level and start to understand how specific whales are making use of the area. So it was exciting for us to see that. I don't know.
Chandra can show.
I think she did.
Chandra, did you show that picture for us? The saddle?
Okay. Did it? Okay. Okay. But yeah, thanks very much. We're happy to be a part of the program and glad to be joining everybody this evening.
Thanks so much, Brian and Kyoko and Shandera. You guys have really been, you are our core field team here at BWA Beluga Whale Alliance this season, and have been putting in a lot of hours and elbow grease and boots on the ground time to collecting this important data and supporting the recovery of our critically endangered Cook Inlet belugas. So thanks so much for being here tonight. I am going to jump in now and share some updates from the Turnagain Arm, so what our organization has been seeing. Okay, so one of our main monitoring sites, we have two monitoring sites along the Turnagain Arm for the Alaska Beluga Monitoring Partnership, and as has been mentioned, we have had to modify our protocol a little bit this field season due to the global pandemic to make sure we are still able to get out there to monitor our whales and collect this important data, but in a way that is safe for our volunteers. So you can see that's myself at one of our key monitoring sites, mile 95 of the Seward Highway near Bird Point, with one of our volunteers, Mary Dean Brossard. We're keeping at least that 6 feet distance, 6 to 12 feet distance. We're wearing our masks, and usually only one person monitors at a time to collect the data, no more than 2 people at a time. And there's Shandera there. We have been seeing belugas every day in the Turnagain Arm since August 10th, this field season. And we are still kind of in peak beluga viewing season here right now at the end of September, but we will be out there monitoring till at least till around November 15th. This year is the goal for the partnership. And these are pictures of our two main sites along the Turnagain Arm, which parallels the Seward Highway. One of the sites, again, is mile 95, the scenic pullout at mile 95, which is near Girdwood, our field base. And we call this our Bird Point site. This is a spot, key area, key feeding, foraging area for the belugas. And then there's this nearshore channel as well that parallels the highway and flows right past this scenic highway pullout. And it's kind of like, we call it Beluga Alley. And it's a great spot for watching the whales use, a wide range of the arm, of the upper Turnagain Arm, and watch them swim by. So we have one of our volunteers there, Caitlin, during an active monitoring session. And then the bottom picture is the 20-mile river, which is further down the Seward Highway around mile 80 of the Seward Highway on the Chugach National Forest. And this is one of the key sites for us as well, because it is a key foraging area for the belugas during salmon season. It flows into their critical habitat, which is the Turnagain Arm. And there is quite a bit of boating activity that occurs during salmon fishing season and this time of year as well for duck hunting on that river. So we look not just at beluga activity, but also human activities like boating on that river too, as part of the data we collect. And this is a picture of the boar tide from our mile 95 site, which is pretty fun to see. So a lot of our sessions start here right as the boar tide is coming in, because last year we were really kind of noticing that the whales were swimming in, kind of surfing the tide even, coming in past mile 95 right as the boar tide was coming in. And for those of you that are tuning in from outside of Alaska, the boar tide is a phenomenon. It's one of the longest waves in the world, and it occurs because of how shallow this glacial fjord is, and how extreme tidal fluctuations we have here in this region, averaging around 30-foot tidal fluctuations every high and low tide. So this is another view from mile 95. We have logged the most belugas we've seen so far this season from mile 95 has been 44 beluga whales. And this is definitely, I think, the AKBMP site where if you want to see belugas, go here and volunteer at this site. And this is a nice sunrise. It's been nice. Sometimes we get out there and have multiple monitoring sessions in a day on both tides if the daylight permits, in the morning and in the evening. And then this is a picture now switching over to the 20-mile river, a picture of the boat ramp area, which is the area where we monitor. And this is one of Brian's pictures, Brian, who you just heard from, a recent picture from just within the last week of a beluga whale surfacing in the 20-mile river. So a lot of folks also don't realize that belugas do swim up rivers, which is pretty cool. And they are swimming up the 20-mile river this time of year on the bigger tides, chasing the runs of silver salmon that are also swimming up the freshwater glacial rivers and streams to spawn. And a big part of the work that we do, kind of supplementing as well, the data that we're gathering when we're out there on the high tides at the 20-mile river with AKBMP, is interacting with boaters and talking to them and encouraging them to boat and operate their motorized vessels in beluga-friendly ways. So this is a beluga-friendly boater here from Anchorage from earlier this season. So we really try to encourage boaters to motor slowly in the lower reaches of rivers like the 20-mile during this time frame when it's likely that belugas are active, especially on the high tides. And we just help them, let them know when belugas are in the area too. A lot of boaters we've seen think that collisions are the main threat to the whales on the river, but really it's underwater noise because they use echolocation. So the faster boats go, the louder the noise there is. We're keeping a field journal this year, so look out for our whole team, Brian, Kyoko, Shandera, and myself, are keeping a field journal of our activities. So look out for a summary of that at the end of the season. Shandera also had gotten some great spy hopping photos of our beluga whales, some great headshots, which are actually pretty rare to get. I don't know, Amber might have quite a few, I'm sure, in her back pocket, but so often we see our whales just their bright white backs in the water, and it's really exciting when we see their heads pop up. And over the course of 3 days recently, earlier in September, Shandera was able to catch our beluga whales popping up out of the water, which is pretty cool. And that is a behavior that we log in our AKBMP data sheets. So stay tuned to our field season, our AKBMP activities as well virtually this year. We have a Beluga Alerts text messaging service that I've listed or I've mentioned to last night. So you can text Belugas to 33222 to see when they're active in turning an arm. And you can donate to help support our field work. And if you have donated this field season, thank you so much for helping to support our work and our work with the Alaska Beluga Monitoring Partnership. So I'm going to turn it over now to Mandy Magura with the Alaska Wildlife Alliance, and she's going to chat a little bit about their organization and how they are supporting the partnership too.
Thanks, Suzanne. Well, thank you everybody for sticking with us through our third night of Belugapalooza. And I know those of you not in Alaska, it's pretty late for you, so thank you. My name is Mandy Magura, and I am the Deputy Director of the Alaska Wildlife Alliance. And I've been asked just to give a really brief overview of our organization, and then we'll have one of our interns talk about what she's been seeing specifically through the beluga monitoring in our sites that we manage. So just real quick, some background. The Alaska Wildlife Alliance, we're the oldest Alaska-founded 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated solely to the protection of Alaska's wildlife. That means we're a homegrown organization right here in Alaska, and we have earned the trust and developed the connections to track cultural, biological, and political changes on the ground here in Alaska. And since 1978, we have listened to and amplified the voices of Alaskans, enabling our nimble network to inform wildlife management policies and to mobilize to protect Alaska's biodiversity. And we're very passionate. We really want a future in which Alaska's wildlife are valued, that our ecosystems are healthy, and that biodiversity is sustained. And so we try to do this by protecting Alaska's wildlife for its intrinsic value and for the benefit of future, present and future Alaskans. And we advocate, again, like I said, healthy ecosystems, that's very important, but we want to make sure that they're scientifically and ethically managed to protect our wildlife up here in Alaska. It's so iconic. So we do these things through 3 core programs. Our advocacy program is what we call our Voices for Wildlife. You know, we realize that Alaska's wildlife doesn't have a voice, so they need yours to speak up. And we really work to try to mobilize the public to participate in the public process for management decisions. We were actually part of the group of organizations that sued trying to get Cook Inlet beluga whales listed back in 1999. So we've been passionate about Cook Inlet beluga whales for a long time. Second main program is our education and outreach program. Knowledge is power, and we believe in the power of the people. We think that if we can help share the knowledge and the understanding of our wildlife, then more people will want to participate and protect them. And our education and outreach program has 3 core initiatives. We host monthly Wildlife Wednesday seminars where we have a different presenter and a different wildlife topic each month. We have several citizen science programs. So our participation in the Alaska Beluga Monitoring Partnership is one of those, and we are responsible for the Kenai and Kasilof River locations in conjunction with Kenai Peninsula College. And we also have several events, educational events that we host. And then our third main program, where we really try to live into the alliance part of our name, that's our conservation coalitions. And we realize that Alaska's wildlife needs all of us working together. No one group is going to be able to do it alone. So we really work to build coalitions to support wildlife across the state. Here we go. And so our our part of the AKBMP, I just want to kind of give a quick visual graphic of where the Kenai and Kasilof rivers are. Unlike the other sites been talked about tonight, we're down on the central Kenai Peninsula. I'm super excited to say that this year we actually have a new intern, Teresa Becker, who she's going to be given the updates of what she's been seeing. But she's our local Kenai coordinator, coordinating, helping us run the beluga monitoring program and really engaging the community there. And when we first brought her on, she suggested that we need to be more proactive in engaging the locals in the Kenai region about when belugas are spotted in the rivers. And so we have also developed a text alert system that's specific to the Kenai Kasilof rivers. And you can just text the word beluga to 833-541-0408. And so, as I said, Teresa's going to be talking a little bit more about what she's been seeing and in the rivers. But I'm going to turn it over now to, I believe, Deb Tobin, who's our partner at the Kenai Peninsula College.
Hi, everybody. My name is Debbie Tobin. I'm a biology professor with UAA down in Homer at the Cachemak Bay campus. And I have been monitoring belugas for, about 10, 12 years in combination with our Semester by the Bay program that we offer down here each fall. But I was able to participate in Belugas Count since the beginning and then become a part of the AKBNP group here just recently. Unfortunately, Dr. Allison Gardell, who is at our Kenai River campus, she left and took a job in Washington, and we were very sad to see her go, but many of her responsibilities having to do with beluga monitoring and such luckily fell in my lap. So even though I'm in Homer, we do try to get up to Kenai and Kasilof and even up to Turnagain Arm and help out with beluga monitoring whenever possible. So luckily, the main person who's been doing a lot of this work besides Dr. Allison Gardell is Teresa Becker. And I'm going to turn it over to her and let her explain everything that she's been seeing. She's an intern this semester with AWA through Kenai Peninsula College and University of Alaska Anchorage. So Teresa, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, hi, my name is Teresa Becker, and I am both an intern through Dr. Tobin for AWA, and I'm the Kenai coordinator for Alaska Beluga Monitoring Partnership and AWA monitoring belugas on the Kenai and Kasilof rivers. What that means is I'm more than happy to do any coordination anybody that wants to monitor needs or to help facilitate reporting information that anybody hears or sees. But mostly I just go out and monitor, and I try and engage the public while I'm out there and trying to figure out different ways to get people more interested in the belugas on the Kenai and Kasilof River. I don't have a picture of the Kasilof or the Kenai River, but I'll just describe it for a second. It's a very big river. The belugas go up about 10 miles up the river, and that's about how far. The tidal influence actually goes a little bit higher up than that. The belugas are regularly seen in the area of miles 5 to 8. So far this year, our first beluga sightings was on September 1st, and that is about consistent with last year, maybe a little bit a day early. Most of the belugas are still up on Turnagain Arm, and so they're starting to filter down. You'll see a few groups come down here. We saw 3 belugas on the first day. We saw 5 on the 11th. On the 12th, we saw a group of 6 come in, and then we saw a single white beluga who the same single white beluga, we think it's the same one, comes down quite often. That same beluga came in on the 13th and 14th, and then on the 16th was probably the funnest day for me anyway, because we had a group of 2 white belugas and a calf that came up as far as the Warnames Bridge, which is about 5 miles up the river. And they stayed in that area for over an hour, of extremely active, just jumping around. There were probably 30 seals in the water. They were swimming, they were clearly catching. There's a lot of pink salmon in the river right now. They were clearly catching. And the crazy lady, Teresa, was running up and down the shore trying to get pictures. So Amber, if you're still out there, I have about 90 pictures from my cell phone of these 2 white belugas and the calf. We'll see if any of them actually turned out, but I'm going to get them up to you. we've had lots and lots of seals in the river, and we did just start the alert system. It's working pretty well. One of the key features of it, and I try to tell everybody, is that I'm not out there every single day. A monitor isn't out there every single day. So one of the key features of our alert system is that anybody who signs up, if you're the one that sees a beluga, you can simply text back to us on the alert system, and then we know that belugas are out there that day, and we put the alert out based on the information that you're giving us, and which is the whole point of it. On the Kasilof River, we have had some monitors out there. It's been sporadic. It's less often that the belugas go into the Kasilof River that we know of, but we do know they go in. But we did have a report from one of our monitors that the belugas were seen just south of the Kasilof River on the 16th, foraging in that area. And some of the other, I'm so interested to hear what some of the other groups are saying and what their reports are, because you're down here on the Kenai and you're kind of wondering where the belugas are sometimes, and you don't know what the other groups, you're not hearing constantly what's going on with the other belugas. So I kind of had a thought this year, so that maybe the belugas are staying farther north because there's more, because it's a year of the pink salmon run, and so there's more fish up there. And now the silvers are coming in, so they don't need to expend the energy necessarily to come down here, but I'd love to get some feedback on that thought. Anyway, that's all I've got for now, and I'll turn it back over to you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Teresa and Mandy and Deb and everybody for sharing updates on, what we're all seeing. It's great to be able to get together and talk about what we're seeing together around the inlet. So thanks so much. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We do have a little bit of time left though, so if anybody has questions that they would like to add to the chat for any of the current presenters. Let's see. We do have a question probably for Teresa. What types of other wildlife do you guys see in the Kenai and Kasilof rivers, in or I guess around, when you're monitoring for belugas?
We see lots and lots and lots of seals. We have a pretty large seal population down here, and you'll see them come out as the tide's going out, and they'll turn around and come back in. So you see them moving around. Of course, a lot of seagulls and eagles. There was a report of a black bear right down on the beach at Kenai that swam across the river from the South Kenai beach to the North Kenai beach just a couple weeks ago, I think now, which is that is highly unusual. And every once in a while, I think I've heard reports, I haven't seen it myself, of other types of whales, like pilot whales coming into the river.
That's awesome. Yeah, we've been seeing seals too, like every day with the beluga groups, or right before them in Tyonek Arm too. So we say it's a good sign when you see a seal. We also, I think one of our volunteers I just heard up at mile 95 in the Tyonek Arm allegedly saw some sea lions, which have been spotted in Tyonek Arm before and on the 20-mile river. But I think just in the last week or two, she's seen some sea lions, which is interesting.
Yeah, I really just wanted to say thanks for celebrating belugas with us all week. And Defenders has been so excited to be able to put this event on. And we really hope that you have a newfound love for our Cook Inlet belugas. And happy Belugapalooza, everyone, and good night.
Yeah, and thanks everyone as well from Beluga Whale Alliance for celebrating our belugas virtually with us this year. Check out the social media channels of all of the presenters and panelists tonight, our organizations, to follow our work. And if any of the other presenters would like to say any kind thoughts as we sign off, feel free.
This is Mandy. I just wanted to say thanks so much for organizing this to Defenders and BWA, and I am super excited to be on tonight with Katie from SeaWorld because I have a special place for Tyonek. And while I'm a big fan of Betty Beluga, I don't know, Miss Betty at SeaWorld has stolen a place in my heart for adopting our sweet Tyonek. So I'm super glad that you guys put on this event for everybody and made it open to the public. So thank you.
Awesome. And yeah, thank you guys for participating and thank you for sharing. That's so awesome. It's kind of felt so good, yeah, to see Tyonek doing
Thank
so
you.
well.
Yeah, here, I'll share this one last picture with you guys. And yeah, Betty steals a lot of people's hearts. So this is a cake we made him today. We call it a cake. It's really just it's one of his planners, one of his toys he plays with. And then we cut out Jell-O in these little shapes, and then he gets to pick the Jell-O off of his cake. So that's him, and then here he is with it underwater. He's just the cutest little whale. Look at this face. We just love him so much. And then here's the little toy that the young man sent us, his little, obviously he can't have either one of those, but we still wanted to take a picture with him. So that's him getting a look at the toys.
That's so great. Katie, we just had a question. How long until he's full grown?
Oh my gosh, I don't, it's hard to say. I mean, we have, like, Samson he turned 7 this year. He's 1,000 pounds. So I would assume he's going to get to be close to 12,000. So, or I'm sorry, to 2,000. And I mean, he's 7. So 10, 12 years old before he's going to be full grown. Here he is in the mix with all 10 of the belugas, and then y'all see Betty right here. She's in the mix. She thinks she's a beluga now. But thank y'all very much for giving us a platform to talk about him and share his story. And it really, I say it, but it really is an honor to take care of him. It really is. He's something special.
Yeah. He is, and thank you again so much. Thank you, Katie and SeaWorld, and we really look forward to continuing to follow his care journey as he grows. So thank you to all of our collaborators and supporters and donors for helping us to put this on as well. We couldn't have done it without you guys, and really will truly take a village for us to support the recovery, and is taking a village for us to support the recovery of these critically endangered whales that we all value so much. So, all right, with that, I think we'll sign off, and happy Belugapalooza, everybody.
Thank you.